Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be looking at March's edition of Book of the Month. And this one kind of surprised me, but in a way that I'm familiar with, and that sounds so confusing, but yeah. I have had a love-hate relationship with the main character of this world. A lot of you probably know who it is, but it's a new series, it's a new perspective, but it still brings in familiar characters, so I'm going with it, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm already like halfway through the second book, and yeah, let's just dive right into it before I go on even more of a rant. It's the first of the Trials of Apollo series. Oh, Uncle Rick, just when you lose me, you pull me back in. It's so weird to be looking at a Rick Riordan book, because the first of the was it? My brain just went there. Don't know where it went, but it just came back. The first of the Kane Chronicles series was on my worst books of 2020 list, and I still stand by that, not because it is a bad book by any means. It just clearly wasn't written for my kind of age group, which I guess you could argue, well, in that case none of the books should be, but it just felt so much younger. The characters didn't really connect as much, and I had many issues with the themes, I guess, that got covered, especially like the whole, oh, it's a 12-year-old girl, therefore she must have a love triangle kind of thing. It just really ticked me off on so many levels. But you know, the Percy Jackson series, as much as I have issues with Percy Jackson as a main character, I still loved that series. Magnus Chase trilogy was phenomenal, and the characters in the Heroes of Olympus series are some of my favourite characters ever. So yeah, I thought, you know, why not? I'm in it now, why not give Trials of Apollo a go? And I did, and I'm so glad I did, because yeah, even though one of the main characters is a 12-year-old girl, she's feisty, she's fun. It feels like the original type of Riordan females that you would get, and she's given so much personality and development and an arc. And then you've got, obviously, Apollo, who's just this absolute diva, but in a kind of you love to hate him, but you can't hate him kind of way. Anyway, let's look at the plot, shall we? So yeah, right from the get-go, the god Apollo has been turned into a teenage mortal and banished from Olympus. He crash lands in New York and has no memory of anything after the events of the Heroes of Olympus series. That's like 6 months where memory is just gone. Even his godly memories are starting to betray him a little bit, so he doesn't quite know why he's being punished, why he's been sent here, what has been going on in the past 6 months, and more importantly, why has nobody come to help him? Because he's just this absolute whiny, I'm a god, I'm above you people kind of attitude, but it's done in a really funny way where even though he's insulting the reader most of the time for being mortal, you have to laugh. So he meets this street urchin, Meg, who is this feisty little 12-year-old with so much personality, and god, I want to adopt her. She'd probably bite me, but I'd love to try to adopt her. And of course they make their way to Camp Half-Blood to try and figure out what has been going on, only to discover that these 6 months where he has no memory, there has been a lot of stuff going down, and thus this series begins, and we meet so many familiar faces, we meet new people, there's a good starting arc, we get a little bit of development from Apollo, but not too much because he's still a diva. We get so much, and I'm loving it. Now granted, there are times when it does go a little bit too, I don't want to say cliche, but there are times when it does feel very young, like because the characters, they are young, they are teenagers or preteens or something like that, so you do have moments like as an adult reading it where you're like, okay, this is fun, but really, we're going here, really, you had to describe something this way, oh, I don't know how I feel about that one, but okay. But you just kind of go with it. It's not distracting, it's not taking away from what is going on and the story, and it does complement a lot of internal conflict. It complements the conflict, so yeah. I love that we see so many familiar faces. I love that we see my little shadow child Nico again. I love that we see our little son boy Will. We do have a glimpse of Percy, but he's grown up a lot. I'm actually liking older Percy more than the first two series of books Percy. He's really grown up. He's got his priorities on straight. His priorities in order and his head on straight. That's what I meant to say. I clearly do not have my head on straight. No, it's good that they've shown some actual development with previous main characters who are not main characters anymore, and it really drives home the point of these kids aren't really kids anymore. They are growing up. They do have a future to try and plan for, and I appreciate that because that's just real life in general. Yeah, the fact that it addresses some real life issues in a book about demigods and monsters and mythology, it's like you don't expect them to be like, yeah, you've got your own adventure to go on, but I've got to study for college exams, so you don't really expect that kind of thing. But it really balances out the whole thing. It lets you move on to a new group while still appreciating the ones that we've spent so much time with in the past. It gives a level of respect to its characters that I wasn't actually expecting. I'm a big believer in, if you have a good set of characters, then your story does still matter, but it's not going to be as high priority because it's the characters that are pushing the story forward. It's the characters that are going through the development. It's that kind of attitude. Whereas if you have an amazing story but not a great set of characters, then you're not really as invested as you could be. So I love that it gives that much respect to characters, so thank you, Uncle Rick. The story itself is very contained. I mean, considering it is the first of 5 books I think there are, yeah, it's a very contained story. It doesn't venture out too far. It doesn't have an epic quest. It doesn't even have like a full-on prophecy to follow it to start with. It's very, this is his issue and he's going to this one place to try and figure out what to do, and it will go from there. And I appreciate that because it still manages to fill a full adventure in one book, because I mean, this isn't exactly a thin book now. There's like 400 pages of it, but even though it doesn't span out as much as the others did, it still manages to have that same level of adventure and thrill and fun while not actually travelling all that much, which is kind of impressive in a way. It really hammers home the point of you need to fix the issues here before you can fix the issues elsewhere, and it really paints a good scene of what is to come in future books without trying to do too much at once. It doesn't go overboard on exposition. It's like, you know, there is other stuff to deal with, but we're going to deal with this bit right now, so calm down, calm your chariots. It just makes for a good pacing because it's a very quick read. It's a very easy read, but then a lot of Rick Riordan books are easy reads where you can just power through them. It's not overly complicated, it doesn't go too far into exposition, but it explains enough and it just keeps the story going, and the characters do get a lot of development in a short space of time. It doesn't feel rushed, but it is a very quick story. For some people, they want something that they can really sink their teeth into that is going to take them a long time to read, but if you're looking for something that does pack a good punch but you can just power through in a short space of time, then this is a good book for that. I mean, obviously the whole series is going to take a while to get through, so maybe that's where you're going to get your sinking teeth feeling into words. Yes. I need more sleep, apparently. Yeah, this video feels like it's a lot shorter than previous Book of the Months that I've done, but yeah, I don't really have much else to say. Really great group of characters. It's great to see new faces, and they really do leave a fun impact. And seeing familiar faces as well in old locations, but seeing how they've grown just gives you a feeling of nostalgia, and it's sort of like a welcome home kind of thing, but you're aware that things have changed, so you're happy to move on. The descriptions are fun, they can be a little bit cringeworthy at times, but that's always been a very Rick Riordan thing, can't even say his name, where he does try and get too into the teenager mindset, where it can be a little bit like, oh, we don't say that anymore. Not in an offensive way, just a bit of a cringy way, but that's, again, part of the charm, that's why we love him. Story, very self-contained, very quick, but still hammers home a good punch, and definitely paints a good picture to what's to come, and I appreciate that. I am really looking forward to the rest of the series. And it managed to take a character that I have many issues with and give a new level of respect for how he's grown up. So yeah, that's the thing that surprised me the most, and I appreciate it. So yeah, Trials of Apollo, The Hidden Oracle, the first of the Apollo series, book of the month. Who knew? So I will see where the adventure takes me. Who knows? Another book in the series might end up on a worst list. It might end up on a book of the month list again. I do not know. That is the fun of these books. You just really don't know where it's going to go until it's already punching you in the face. So I'm going to wrap this video here. I hope you had a good time. If you have read this book, then let me know what you thought of it. If you haven't read it, then please give it a go and then let me know what you think of it, because it's surprisingly fun. I was not expecting it to be this enjoyable, but there we go. Oh, a bit of a backhanded compliment there, but I mean it in the nicest way possible. It's just because I went from Kane Chronicles to this, my expectations were quite low. But no, they've skyrocketed again. I'm back to like Magnus Chase, Heroes of Olympus level of expectations now, so please don't disappoint me. Oh god, until the next video, I hope you're doing well, I hope you're staying safe, and I will see you all soon. Goodbye, my scribblers.